The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Welcome to the Fine to Fab Show with Lisa Lieberman-Wang, helping women reclaim their inner peace and power, going from feeling fine to being fab, fabulous, awesome, beautiful, serving to empower you to break through the barriers that weigh you down, to live an authentic life that is healthy, happy, and free. Now, here's Lisa.
Hi everyone. I'm Lisa, your trusted guide on your journey from feeling fine to being fab. I'm excited to have you here and even more excited to share with you the time with my special friends, and I'll get to introduce them in a moment. Be sure to be an active member of our community. You can text the keyword FINE to FAB to 90210 and hit send. Follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and at Lisa Lieberman-Wang. And check out our website at www.fine2fab.com. Know that this is a live show, so if you'd like to chat with our guests, you'll be able to call in at 561-422-4365 or Skype us at W4WN Radio. Be sure to mute your phone and wait to be acknowledged because you will be live with us. So at this time, I'd like to be able to introduce you to my guest here. And the first one I want to tell you about is my special friend, Lisa Grand. She's a successful mom and wife of 20 years. She has an internet marketing and product brokerage company. Her passion's helping people change the economy one family at a time and teaching future generations to actually live the prosperous life that she has shared with her family. She's a field vice president with Market America. And I decided why not just not have one, but have two field vice presidents. I'm fortunate from the same company to have Jacki Blasko. Now, most people do not know her background, which is so cool, that she was a former English teacher, and she decided that she wanted to be able to stay home and raise her kids. And there's a theme here all about family with my two friends, and also be able to raise her children. She ended up finding a company that gave her what she wanted to do by empowering women to work within a few years. She became management. After 23 years from that company, it was a direct sales company, she ended up resigning and found Market America, where today she's a field vice president in no time. Both my guests are $1 Million Club earners and extraordinary examples of what's possible when you put your mind to it. And today, our theme is all about empowering women and bringing them together and really acknowledging the gifts that we've already been given and knowing that you're already fabulous, awesome, beautiful. But we know that there's always a story in everyone's life where there was a time we didn't believe we were able to have what we have or do what we do. And most people take a lot of their challenges and they use that as their excuses not to instead of their excuses to. And just like all the challenges I've had over the years, I thought those were the excuses of why I couldn't have what I want or do what I want. And instead, I decided to use it as my reasons for. And I have two extraordinary women that are going to share a similar story in the sense of overcoming it, but more important, give you some pearls of wisdom and tools that you'll be able to apply immediately to get results and to live the happier, healthier, authentic life that you're looking for. So I'm going to first start with Jacki. And Jacki is, I have to tell you that Fine to Fab would not have happened if it not been for her. Oh my God, I'm going to look at her, I'm going to cry. Because they're both here with me. And, this was something that, oh man, this is interesting. This is something that was in my heart, things I did for the last 20 years, really just to help women, but most people did not know about what it was because I only did when I thought it would serve others and it was needed. So it was a secret I kept for a very long time, and it was one she felt the world needed to know because we can help more women. And she prayed for me, and today we're here, not just here, we have a lot of stuff happening. But I want to introduce you to my friend Jacki. And Jacki, I'm excited that you're here.
I am so thrilled to be here and so honored because we have been heart to heart from the beginning of this. And I have believed in this so much, but mostly because I believe in you and what you will do to empower thousands and thousands because of your vision and your passion.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, a lot of people have no idea that similar stories with Lisa and Jackie is all about empowering others and especially making a difference in others' lives. And it's all because of where we came from. So you're going to hear more about that. So Jackie, why don't you just let our listeners know a little bit about your background of growing up and some of the things that, you know, you had to deal with. And then later we'll talk about some of the ways you were able to overcome them.
Right. Well, when I was young, I was about 10 years old, and my mom started to get very ill. And so as she had this respiratory disease, asthma, I had to be at her side constantly to take care of her because my father worked a lot and was over the road. And so it was just her and I at home, and I had to be her feet many times. I had to do everything for her throughout my years of growing up. And we were so very close. We were such close friends, and she was everything to me, always expecting me to be better. Her words still ring in my ears that, Jackie, you can do anything you set your mind to. Just be an example for others. And those words ring in my ears forever. And so over the years of taking care of her when I was so young and through high school, I started to be very rebellious because it was not what I wanted to be doing. I wanted to be out partying with my friends. So I started to, get in a lot of trouble doing things that I, would sneak out of the house to do whenever I could. And of course, I was driving at 13 years old to go get medicine for her. I had a special permission slip that I lived on a farm, and so I could drive in 10 miles to town without a license to pick up her medication and then go back home because I knew how to drive. Can you believe that?
See, now all you need to do is have a good excuse and you can
make anything happen, right? Maybe that's why I've chosen to do so many things so creatively. But it was very real as I started to rebel in high school and couldn't wait to leave the farm and couldn't wait to leave her so dependent on me. And so I did, I went to Chicago right out of high school with a girlfriend just to be released and have freedom. But then she got sicker and sicker. And of course, through that time, I got married and
well, let's go back to
yes.
even when she was sick and you were home and stuff like that.
Right.
Here, I remember you just like 10 years old.
Yes.
To start having to care for your mom.
Yeah. To be there and watch her be so sick. And when she couldn't breathe, they even taught me how to give her adrenaline shots. They taught me with an orange. I'll never forget it. How to shoot the the shot, give her a shot by practicing in an orange so that when she would gasp for breath and when she would want that shot, I would give it to her, not realizing that it was weakening her heart. And then she was also taking cortisone and 16 other pills and medications from the doctor because of her allergies and all these things that all of a sudden happened when she was 46 years old.
Wow.
You see her 40, whenever, in her 40s. And it was just so sad to watch her be so sick. And so she'd be gasping for breath, begging me to give her that shot of adrenaline because then it would open up her airways and she could breathe, and then she'd be mom again.
That must have been scary.
It was.
The responsibility, even at a young person.
I just did what she wanted me to do because she wanted to breathe. And it was, very, very real what you do for someone else when you have to.
Yeah. And then, here you spent all these years, like it was until you were 19, right?
Right.
And then she ended up passing away.
Yes, we got married. We were married when I was 19, and it was just 1 year later. So I was almost 20 when she passed away. And it was just unbelievable because she went to California for her health the last week of her life to be with her family that lived there, her sister, and she wanted me to go with her so bad. And I just said, Mom, I just can't. You're going to go there. Dad's going to join you. We'll come and join you later. But, I'm just married and I was pregnant at the time and I wasn't feeling good. I was losing the baby at the time, which the baby did die inside of me before Mom died. Yeah. And I was decayed and of course led to lots of health challenges after she died. And it was a horrible time of my life, just horrible. I just wanted to take my life. That's all I wanted because she was only in California 1 year and 1 week and she passed away. They called me. She was with her sister and her brother and they called me at 8:00 on a Sunday morning and that she wasn't there anymore. And it still is real today, as it was then. And I was, that's the way it was. And so then I had to be strong. I had to be strong for my dad because I had to go tell him. I had to go to Milwaukee from Manitowoc, Wisconsin, and tell Dad that Mom was gone. We drove on Sunday afternoon to see him. And it was the worst experience of my whole life. To tell my dad that Mom had died, and they were so close. They worshipped and cherished each other. They were married when she was 16 and he was 21. And I watched the most beautiful, beautiful marriage all of those years, where they were devoted to each other. And Mom loved him so much. And then she got so sick and he was planning to join her in November. She died in October. And, it was just a horrible thing that, would happen so suddenly, you see. And I had to tell him, and of course he was devastated in a state of depression, and as we all were.
And you carried, and I remember you sharing with me in the past that you even carried not being there, and now, carried that with you as a burden for yourself not being there. And then here your dad wasn't there. No. And she was with her sister, though.
Mm-hmm. But I just had to be so strong for Dad. I couldn't even cry because if I cried or showed any emotion, then he would just fall apart. So I had to be so strong and so strong for him and strong for Mom. And Mom, I remember her saying, always be an example. You're strong. You can do anything you set your mind to. And those words just rung in my ear. And I was right back to the faith that she brought me up in after being so rebellious and wild and crazy. My poor husband didn't know who he was married to after, she died because I was not the person that he married. Right. Because I went right back to being Mom's daughter that she raised me to be.
So the very thing you try to run away from is what you ended up coming back to.
Very strong, very strong. And so I don't believe I would be the strong woman I am today, perhaps, if she had lived. Yeah. Because I knew I had to be strong for her, and the only way the world would know her was through me. And that's why I believe I've become and done what I've done.
The example. You've become the example that she wanted you to be.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is. It's like it comes full circle. Yes. And I want everybody to meet Lisa too, because we're going to have a conversation here, and we're going to be part of it, and you can just join us as our listeners. And the backgrounds and everything is like coming in. And Jackie, I know you have more to share. We'll share it after. But Lisa, we got to talk a little bit about your upbringing and about growing up fast too, and having to deal with different things that most people don't understand. And I think what happens is when they see successful women, they all assume that we just were hatched and we just did it. And I just totally am always amazed. It's like, I think the stories behind us is what made us so strong and what made it possible to achieve the success today. So
I think that's true. No pain, no gain.
I'm done with the pain. I'll just take the gain.
I know. And Lisa, thanks for inspiring me too. And I just can't wait to finish the book. When you asked me to be on the show, I had to think back of my struggles because things have been so wonderful for me in the last few years, but that's because I've made it wonderful. And it's taken a lot of work. And I forget about the past because I'm always trying to look at the future and always move forward. But when you asked me to write this down, I said, wow, I've had a really hard past. Maybe that's why I am who I am today. So I think every woman can be inspired by these stories. But, you know, when I was, my parents moved us when I was in 10th grade. My parents didn't come from a lot of money, but they were entrepreneurs, always struggling. And they moved us in 10th grade. And that was horrible because I had so many friends and family, and they just moved us to another school, another town. And it was very cliquey. So I did not want to go to school. I remember every day I would just say, I'm sick, I don't want to go. I hated school. And I got through it, and I just turned to working with horses. I always loved animals. They never talked back to me. So I started showing and riding, and my parents didn't have the money to buy me real expensive horses, but they said, listen, we'll get you a horse, but you're going to have to work for lessons, and, you know, you're going to have to work to support this. And so I worked at right straight out of high school. I went and I worked on a horse farm, and I was hired by a horse trainer that I thought really wanted me for my talents. But I found out instead quickly after living there for a few months that he was interested in other things with me. And that was a struggle for me because I felt like a failure, that I didn't want to tell my parents and all my friends that this didn't work out. So I stayed there for 3 years, and it was just...
So you stayed in a situation that wasn't even good for you.
Yeah, it wasn't good for me. You know, I was constantly running from this guy, and at least I was dating someone that was somewhat protecting me, but it was a terrible environment. I shouldn't have stayed in it, but I didn't want to be a failure. And then I went on to work at other horse farms, and same thing, you know, just working for people I shouldn't have been working for. And I found myself naive, and I was really getting hard on myself. I was wondering why I was always getting myself in these situations and dating a couple guys that I didn't belong with. So, you know, I went to work for my parents in a power equipment shop after I left the horse business. And boy, I thought the horse business was hard. I went to work with my Italian mother sitting next to me for 17 years. I'm lucky I still have a head. She slapped it a couple times.
Family businesses
She's
are
tough,
hard anyway.
boy. And my brother was tough. My whole family was tough. I mean, my parents, I wouldn't be where I am today without them. But I think they drove me to be strong, and then working with people. Because I was in a service business for 17 years working with people. And I was in Stamford, Connecticut, which is next to New Canaan, Greenwich, Connecticut, and some very wealthy communities. So my customers were tough. I mean, they had money, and they wanted what they wanted, and they wanted it now. And I was dealing with people one after the other, and of course had a lot of employees, a lot of overhead, a lot of stress. And I had to make things happen there every day. So I think it ended up being good for me that I learned a lot of things from that. I met a lot of famous people that walked into the power equipment shop. I met Ron Howard, Gene Wilder, Jack Parr, tons of CEOs of companies. They would come in, and Ron Howard even liked to mow his own lawn. It was neat how I met all these people, and the conversations I had with them. I just said to myself, I want to be successful. I want to be successful. It was so interesting to hear all their stories.
Now, what happens is a lot of times it's like we had to go through so much to even get to that, before you say I want to be successful, because now, how old were you? Like at this point,
I was 21.
So 21 and stuff, but then you went to work for your parents for 17 years. So how many years did you actually stay in that? So you look at it, and I think people think success, again, happens overnight. And I know even for me is, there were times when I ended up going through school and everything else. I was a latchkey kid before it was a name, and they called the latchkey children the generations, because both my parents worked. So I ended up having to man the house, and, Mom listens to the show, so she'll have a different story, and that's okay. But from the time I was 9, I was cooking and cleaning and doing everything else for the family, because my mom worked 6 days a week, and my dad wanted food on the table at a certain time. And so it's like we all grew up fast or had to deal with different situations. I think, when you look at it, there are other things that even underlying people don't know. And I know one of the things I learned over those years was secrets kill. And I remember growing up and I thought I was the only one going through this. Like no one else had my problems. No one else had understood my challenges. No one would ever understand. And for me, over those years, by the time I was in my teens, I ended up turning to food to deal with things. And it wasn't a conscious act. I didn't do this knowing I was doing it. It was years later and tons of therapy and help and self-help and everything else that woke me up to this. But there were times when things happen, like you said, Lisa, you put yourself in circumstances that maybe you didn't want to be in, but you didn't know how to get out of, or you thought you were a failure. You know, a lot of times, I mean, for me, my dad was very protective, and I used to, I don't even want to say, I'll say on the radio, I used to call him Hitler. He doesn't know that, but he doesn't listen to the show, so we're safe. And because I was so afraid of him, he wanted perfect children, and God didn't make perfect children. We were perfectly imperfect, and I could never measure up to the standard that he wanted. So what happened is I wasn't allowed to date, I wasn't allowed to wear makeup, I wasn't allowed to do anything. And of course, Mom, loving, you know, everybody's great and people are wonderful and trusting. Mom wanted to compensate for the difference and said, you can do anything you want, you can do anything you want. So, I mean, even for me, I put myself in situations I shouldn't have been in, where I dated someone who's older than me and he took advantage of me on a date. Because I didn't know any better, and I did say no, and no didn't work back then for some reason. And, you know, and then I was so afraid to share this with anybody because I told my mom says, oh, your father's going to kill you. So already I did something wrong. Right. Instead of this person did something wrong. But the secrets that I've held, and this seemed to have repeated years and years because it was a pattern, I just didn't know how to break because I thought I did something wrong. Yes. Instead of somebody did something wrong. You know, I think that we have a lot of good people out there, but people do stupid stuff. So we have a lot of people doing stupid things. And I know that there's similarities. Like you said, Lisa took advantage of situations and tried to use you more than for your talents. And, you know, Jackie, we talked, you know, even when you were a kid, of the boys bullying and stuff that went on. And those were days when people didn't even know about that. And I really was, you know, not just were you dealing with raising, you know, I said raising your mom, taking care of your mom, right, but you kind of you were doing a lot there. Right. You know, can you share a little bit about the thing that's kids? Because I know with your grandbabies and stuff, we talked about, you know, the fact that so many people aren't aware of what's happening. And it's no different today than it was 30, 40 years ago, 50 years 40, ago.
Yeah, 50 years. Yes. Yeah, 50 years ago, 55 years ago. And what am I now? Almost 60 years ago. You see that we lived next door to to a family who had boys older than I, and mom and dad being on the road and mom being gone a lot. And I was raised by a couple of wonderful little Polish ladies, but not protected very well. And so these boys next door started taking advantage of me. And it was horrible because I couldn't escape, and I would hide after school. We went to a little country school, and I would come home, and if they knew my parents were gone, I'd go up in the attic and hide under blankets and not breathe hardly so that I wouldn't be found, because when they did find me, they would abuse me. And it was so bad that, again, you feel so dirty and so bad that you were a bad girl. And this started, you know, like at 8 years old, 7 years old, you see, and that is so young. And now that my grandbaby's going to be 7, I look at her and I truly realize now the age that I was, you see, and how helpless I was. I was not a bad girl. And so I want to protect these little ones to never, ever have to experience anything like this, to be there, to be aware, so totally aware, and to caution parents and you know, again, grandparents, because these things are real. They've been real since the dawn of time. Yeah, absolutely. You see. And there's abuse going on, and there's evil and sin, and so therefore we need to be there for the ones we love, and understand.
And I think a big thing too is that, you know, when we're young, because we're so afraid of what everybody else is going to think, because we want to do what's right, we tend to take it on as ourselves. Like we did something wrong. But a lot of times it's, it's just not having the resources. Like as a young person, you don't know, but yet realize it, and they say that by the time we're 5 years old, 55% of our beliefs have already been formed. So now you have beliefs that you have to be a certain way to be good, a certain way makes you bad. And if you don't do that and conform to that, all of a sudden we label ourselves and we live that truth, which is not the truth. It's just a circumstance.
That's right.
And I love, Jackie, you do so much speaking, and all of us here, we've all had audiences of 20, 30,000 people at a time. And it's always about perception and how you see yourself and how you see the world. And, with some of the challenges that you've had, and there's I didn't even know about even having the stillborn and all the other things. I mean, there's so many things that some people just end their lives because of and not move forward. But you've had one thing after another, and there has to be some takeaways and things that you had to do to be able to make this shift to say, I'm going to be going from rebellious to, okay, now I'm going to conform to being the example to now, and how are you going to do that? Because people just say it, but that doesn't mean they do anything. You know that. Right. So what was some of the things you needed to do?
For me, it was totally my belief in God and his son, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit that totally was what I relied on and prayed to every day, knowing that I was so weak in and of myself that I needed totally to immerse myself in my faith. And so whatever your faith is, you see, for me, that was my faith that held on to me, that kept me from taking my life, that kept me from, going into the Lake Michigan or whatever, just how devastated I was at that time, 1969, 1970, 70 to 74. I'll just never forget those years that I held on, and I rededicated my life to the Lord and serving him and being the example that my mom wanted me to be joyfully, but it was a process of self-discovering and meeting more of the right people that I know God led me to, the women that he led me to in 1974 to my new career. And again, leaving the teaching career, because you see, I went to college through that time, was held on to by close friends that kept me in school, that kept me getting my degrees. And, the teaching position that I had couldn't have been more perfect to help me grow and become and be dedicated to the junior high class that I loved so dearly. And then just being stronger and stronger as I found a company then in direct sales that when we moved for my husband's job across state, I found this company that was all about empowering women, believing in women. And the founder and CEO of that company, Mary C. Crowley, it was everything to me. She became my mother, my grandmother, my spiritual mentor, just everything. She introduced me to Zig Ziglar and John Maxwell and Rita Davenport, Les Brown, all of these incredible people that trained us. And I just wanted to be trained by her side. And she gave me my living Bible that I still have today. And she signed, and with her favorite Bible verse, Psalms 37:4, fret not, worry not. And again, it was about, it's peace, which is your message.
Yeah, inner peace.
Interesting. Inner peace. And that led me here.
And when you think about the story you used to tell yourself, and then the story you tell yourself today, like do you know what the story you used to tell yourself? I'm not worthy, that I'm not good enough, that I'm fearful of even, speaking in front of a group. I fainted in high school. Talk about
when I had to read in front of a group in English class. Talk about hating school because of the cliquey girls from the city. You know, I was out in the country. Boy, do I relate to you. That's interesting. Soul sisters. We are soul sisters. But I hated it. I was an outcast. You know, I wasn't a part of any of the cliquey girls in town, the cheerleaders and all of that group. I was one with the wild side. I was out with the wild
So what was your news story? So the old story is I'm not enough.
I'm not good enough. And my news story was simply that I am worthy. I am a child of God, created in his image, never worthy, but of great worth, because I am created in his image. And then it was about, you know, who I was serving and why. You see, to honor God, to bless and serve others, and inspire others with a confident, courageous heart, but taking personal growth classes, meeting these people that stepped me along in my personal growth journey to become all that God intended me to be. That was what I hung on to and wanted to change and did change.
So, and it's like going to school again, but like you said, the thing you didn't want to do for personal growth, and it's life school too.
Overcoming the challenges of not wanting to be up in front of a group because I wouldn't be perfect enough. I wouldn't say it just right. But I knew that if I would practice over and over, I remember getting an A in speech class in college because I learned how to overcome it by looking in the mirror with a tape recorder of my father's, the old reel-to-reel tape, saying that speech 20 times so that I had inflection and that I had confidence and I could just say it and change lives saying it. I became empowered.
So Lisa, you know, where was your switch? What was your old story you told yourself when you kept getting into the situations or felt like you were stuck? And what was the new story?
I felt I had to look in the mirror and find out why I kept doing this to myself, why I kept putting myself in this position. And there was no one else that was going to change that but me. And, you know, Jacki, as you were talking, I remember when we first met, because the way I got myself out of it is I decided to start reading a lot of books and started to attend seminars, taking classes that would better myself. And then that's how we met. We took a class in Utah through Dr. Cheryl's daughter, Coel, that was inspired by Monty Roberts. So we took a leadership class through the eyes of a horse. And I was always working in the horse business. She never saw a horse in her life. She saw horses, but from a distance. So she was actually afraid of them. And we were roommates, and it ended up that our two other girls had bad backs and they got the beds and we got the pull-out couch.
It's okay. We didn't sleep anyway, did we?
No, we didn't. All night long we were talking about self-development, self-help, and I just realized this woman is my little soul sister here. And we just talked all night, and we've been talking together ever since. And together we went to field vice president together. So I think we have the same values, and she's really inspired me to, I've always been a believer of God and Jesus Christ, and now she's always quoting Bibles, quoting the Bible to me, and she keeps me on track. But, you know, I'm being shown every day. By giving, you receive so much more in return, and that's why I've always given without asking for anything in return. My parents have been so good that way. They were always givers. My brother's a giver, but you know, I had to start reading books, taking classes, and make that switch, and also make the switch to not be with abusive men. And I finally found the love of my life, and I decided no more. I was going to marry a guy that was going to be good to me. They go, why are sometimes some women attracted to these bad boys all the time?
Well, actually, there's a reason for it, because if you understand relationships, that there's a part of us that wants the bad boy because it's exciting and it's variety, it's fun. But the same token, it might not be giving us that it creates passion, so fun. But the other thing,
a lot of things.
But what happens is it's also understanding it's filling a need at that point. At that point, they have that need for that variety and different things that's going on, and it becomes a significant relationship. But when you grow up, meaning when you grow and you're looking more for love and you want a passionate relationship that's healthy, and you want to be able to be with someone that you can be for a lifetime, most people are in a different place. We actually attract where we're at.
Right.
So if you're at that point where you need to have someone who's controlling, and then all of a sudden you find someone, but then you find that you end up learning to love yourself more, and you don't need someone to tell you what to do or to tell you you're enough.
Yeah, I think that was a big part of my process, is starting to believe in myself more through getting personal development courses, and starting to know what I wanted and be more confident. And then I was done with that. And then I found the love of my life, who next week I'll be married to 20 years. And he is really special. And he has allowed me to continue to grow and be who I want to be.
Yeah.
I think that's when you know it's good.
That's the best relationship, is when they actually support you in your growth. And I have that with my handsome.
I was just going to say, I think you have that in you.
I totally have that. I have the best raving fan. He's my supporter without a doubt. Anything, it's like he's just.
And
awesome.
I would just like to add that, again, my husband Dave and I got married, of course, at a very young age. He was 21, I was 19, against both of our parents' wishes, really. And because we were marrying outside of our faiths, he was a Catholic and I had been a Seventh-day Adventist, would you believe? I mean, about as opposite as can be. And so here we found each other. But what attracted me to him at this time of my life, he was so strong. And he was, again, this very controlling person that would help me, I thought, be a better person, you see, because I'd come through so much. And I looked to him, he was like my rock. He was so solid. He just never wavered. Again, a teacher of high school. And then I wanted to be a teacher too, you see, and that gave me my rock. And so it was when we were married that I became a straight A student. I was a failing student in high school. Because you didn't go into high school or into college when you really have this solid rock in your life.
Yes.
You see, I'm sure you would have. You would now if you chose to, because of what our purpose is now. You see, it's different.
What would be some of the things you've learned in your life that if you could give somebody today that doesn't have the experience, the personal growth, and they're just starting their journey, and they still feel like they're stuck, and maybe they're in situations they're not happy with, and they don't know they have options, maybe they're accepting less than standard behaviors of others as well as their own. What would be some things that you can share and give as a guidance for them?
I'd say a few things. I'd say you have to forgive, and you always have to try to move forward, no matter what circumstances you've been dealt with, because I deal with so many people daily on an ongoing basis. And it's funny, when you talk to them, they think they're the only ones that have issues. And I think everyone has issues. It's the only time that you won't have issues is when the good Lord takes you and you're in that beautiful place. But other than that, every day, no matter if you have money, because I've had no money and now I have money, and that doesn't change. Issues, things happen, challenges happen. It's how you overcome them. It's you have to learn that stress is not a good thing. It's not a good thing for you. It's not good for your family. You got to just take a deep breath, and you got to appreciate life and what God's given you, and so just slow down and enjoy today. I can't wait for next week. My son's going to be 16, and hope he's not listening to this show, because I got him a car, but he's paying half for it. He's 16. I made him work the last 3 years for it.
Awesome. So, Jackie, what would be some things that you shared that somebody can apply today?
Totally agreeing with everything she said, but again, whatever it takes to truly get inside your head and know and decide and make a decision of what you want to change in your life now. You see, if you're not happy with where you're at, you see, change is inevitable. Growth is optional. You make a decision for change, for the kind of change that you want. Take time to get inside of your head, whatever it takes, however you can do that, to truly understand your purpose, your why you're here on earth, and to make a conscious decision that it's up to you to do that, no one else. We all have felt needs, and we all have real needs. Of course, our real needs are security, food, shelter, all of that. Those are the real needs we have. But the felt needs are what goes to the heart and inside of the head. You know, you have to satisfy your felt needs, what you feel you need more of right now. And only you know that. And then you've got to seek out programs like Lisa's, for example, Find to Fab. If you truly want and need change, see, we all need change of some kind, but do we want it enough to do what it takes to get it? That's the only question, and to make the right choices to get it. To then get inside yourself with these personal growth trainings to write your identity statement. You see, have you written an identity statement? When I ask that to women or men, few people have, very few. Right?
What I love about Jacki is she spends the time to write you a note, to send you a book. And, you know, these things take time. And today everybody's saying they're so busy. They're so busy. I don't know what we're so busy doing all the time these days. But, you know, she takes that time, and I've tried to take the time too, because it means so much to people to reach out and just spend that extra couple minutes a day to reach out to somebody, let them know that you care, and listen to them. It's not an easy thing to listen. I mean, I'm still trying to conquer that. I think we all try to have to learn how to listen more, but just to spend every day, just take a couple people and reach out and send a card. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate you I know how much personal growth that you've had, and you spent a lot of money. And I just heard from you how you traveled with Tony Robbins and what you and Yardley did. And I think that's very admirable that you did that for not only personal growth for yourself, but what you could do now to help others. So I'm glad you took the time to do that.
Thank you. And that was a really hard gift to even give myself, because in the past I might not have invested in me because I didn't think I was worth it.
Right.
You know, it's like, I think sometimes when people are at the bottom, and at whatever bottom they're at, it's like at that point you don't even think you deserve things. Like, you know, it's like there's so many women I know that, you know, they don't buy something new for themselves, but they'll take care of their kids, and everybody else comes first.
So true.
And you know, the education and the being nice to yourself. And one of the big things I realized, and you're both saying it in the theme, is one is decide. And Jacki, decide also means in the dictionary to put an end to any other option. And that's such a great thing, because that was for me. I just made a decision, and think about how many people try to quit smoking, they never do. But they decide, and it's done. You know, because try doesn't work, but decide does. You put an end to any other option to do that. I think the other piece too is loving yourself enough, and that's a big thing, because a lot of people have a hard time when you don't love yourself, you don't make good decisions. And it's like, if I'm really not feeling good about myself, then you don't make good decisions for yourself. But almost like, if you're going to make believe everything else is okay, let's make believe you're okay. So if you're going to let the world make believe, if you're going to put a stage out there and show everybody, look how great I'm doing, even though you don't feel good inside, if you need to start pretending, fake it till you make it, fake it, that everything is great. Instead of saying I'm miserable, I'm depressed, I'm angry, I'm lonely, I'm sad, I'm worthless, I'm all these other things, how about just saying I'm wonderful, I'm awesome, I'm fabulous, I'm beautiful. All these things, affirmation. It's everything else. And you know, some of the rituals I personally have, and I know that some people will have a hard time with this. I have the hardest time with every morning I had to get up, and I've been doing this for over 20 plus years, but people starting out every morning I had to get up and say, what am I grateful for? And in the beginning it started with, I'm not grateful for anything. I don't like anything about my life right now. And then I started, okay, I'm grateful I have two eyes. I'm grateful I have two hands. I have 2 feet. I mean, I had to start somewhere. I'm like, okay, I can walk. Some people can't walk. I mean, I can talk. Some people have challenges. I mean, I'm grateful. I had to go to basic, and then grow up to, you know, looking in the mirror. And that was the hardest thing. And I love that to do that is look in the mirror and say, I love you to yourself. And, you know, and you're awesome and you're wonderful, because you put that mirror. I remember the first time I was given that mirror and somebody told me to say something nice to myself. I cried. I was like so upset. I'm like, oh, I can't say it. I couldn't think of anything nice, because I've been beating myself up for so many years privately that saying nice to me was hard. And until we start valuing ourselves of being worthy. And really, you know, if you're here to serve a purpose and you both believe in a higher power, I choose to call mine God. But if you believe you're here for a bigger purpose, then how can you destroy what's given to you to give to others? You're destroying you. You can't serve others.
Right.
But so many people want to help everybody else, but they don't help themselves first.
It's kind of when the plane is going down.
That's
If you have a child next to you, if you don't put it on you first, the child's going to.
Right. And I think it's really, goes back to that for everybody. Is like, we've all been in the personal development and realized that it's all about empowering ourselves to empower others. But again, if you don't love yourself, how can you expect somebody else to love you? And if you don't do good things for yourself, then no one else will do good things for you. So I love the expression, and it's in the book, and it says, take care of your mother's daughter, because the reason I'm staring at Jackie now, and people can't see that, is because Jackie, you know this, you remind me of my grandma, and my grandma's the one who said to me, take care of your mother's daughter. Because she'd say, baby, baby, you know, always baby, baby, take care of your mother's daughter. I was going to save the world, but not me. So we only have a couple minutes left before we actually need to end. So what would be like something you want to tell that person who, again, is looking for something? And what would you want to tell them would be something they can do, or what has really saved you and given you your strength?
I think not to compare yourself with others, but to do the best that you can do. Because when you start comparing, that's when, Lisa, maybe you won't like yourself as much, but you just have to always do the best you can do, and that's good enough. You know, and I think we said so many things right here. You know, you have to just give unconditionally, and not try to always look at what's in it for me. If you look at what's in it for you, that will not make you feel good about yourself either. I also think one thing that's really important, I learned to value people for who they are instead of trying to make them into something I want them to be. Because I'm in a business where, you know, I'm a leader. I have the Nike sign, just do it. I take action. People say, Lisa, you know, we all can't be made like you. And sometimes that's a good thing, but I think you don't want to be me all the time either. But I think that I am done trying to make people into something they're not. I just accept them for who they are. And that's been the last couple of years of my life, and I feel so good about it.
And where they're at. I mean,
and where they're at.
To who they are and where they're at, because everybody's timing is different. And for any one of us, you know, we had opportunities even when we were younger to make these changes. We might not have chosen because we weren't ready. And so it's where they're at. So, Jackie, what would be something you want to end with?
Well, just, again, to believe in yourself. No matter how hard that might be, you are created in His image, in the image of God. And therefore, it's so important for us to believe in ourselves so that we can believe in others, because we can create a better world only if we start with ourselves and changing something about where we're at if we're not in a happy place. And so believe in you. Believe in yourself, because each one of us believes in you.
Absolutely.
And that you can do more than you ever dreamed that you could do. We're all given gifts by the Heavenly Father. I know that. We are given specific gifts. And so important not to compare yourself, like Lisa says, because none of us receives exactly the same gift. But together, you see, it's no telling what we can do together. Each one giving our gifts to each other and recognizing how valuable we are to each other, we will change the world.
Absolutely.
And we've got to stay focused on that. And then just the phrase, you know, when you say that things are fine with you, the Lord will listen and make it true. Fine. That's my definition.
And then for my definition, as you know, is feeling fine is being effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And instead, we so prefer to feel fabulous, awesome, beautiful.
And we are.
And what I'm going to end with, which I totally love, is that, having friends like you both is really incredible, and it's about empowering others. And we've all come together from different backgrounds, different states,
Yes.
Wisconsin, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, the whole deal. And we've all been on the same mission. And the same mission is really about empowering others and to make them see what we already see in them. And everybody that we've ever met, anybody on this earth, has already been a winner. The fact that they were picked to be born out of millions of sperm, they already were winners. So it's like if we come from that point that we already won, and just continue to go and just be the best you can be. And one of my great friends and mentors, Deb Badsby, says, do your best, forget the test. And if everybody was just to do their best and have a great day, love themselves, appreciate, live in gratitude, we'd have a lot of happier people, more successful, fun, loving people out there, and we can give them that tool. So I want to thank you all for being here. I totally appreciate you guys, and I'm excited because it's a last minute thing to be able to get you guys together. What a gift. So I want everybody to remember to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Go to Lisa Lieberman-Wang. You can check out the website at Find to Fab. You can also sign up and register for 8 free tips to living a happier life now. So join and follow us next week. We will be on with another fabulous special guest, 3 o'clock Eastern Time on Women for Women Radio. So love you all. Have a great day. And until next time, remember you're already fabulous, awesome, beautiful.
This is your life talking to you. Yes, I know it's unusual. You think that you are just living your life, but now here I am. I just had to speak up if you and I are going to have the best. Yes, you've had some success with me, but things could be better. I know how tough it's been to fight depression and the habits that lead you to self-sabotage and disordered eating. I applaud you for all the professional and self-help remedies that you have tried so far. But let's face it, they haven't worked. But it's not your fault. I know. I was there, remember? It's time that you listen to me for a change. I want you to go to www.findtofabshow.com and find out how best-selling author Lisa Lieberman-Wang can make me your life fabulous. Right now, Lisa is offering a 10-week transformational program for us. Mention the show and we'll get a really great discount. Hey, I'd go online and do it for us, but I don't have any fingers. So go ahead and go to www.findtofabshow.com and let's make the changes we need today so we can have a better tomorrow.